Well, hello everyone. Hey Shill, hey Mippet, hey Mark. It's good to see everybody. Uh, it's not Monday, it's Tuesday. It is a regular true crime and legal update day, but I wanted to actually do it just on Leah Remini in her lawsuit against Scientology today. Um, I hope everybody had a great weekend. And I hope your Monday wasn't too rough. I know Mondays are usually rough for me. There's just something about Mondays. Mondays and I do not get along at all. Well, yeah, but it is. Congratulations on getting your new car, Mark. That sounds like really exciting. Hey, Pete. Hey, look at you. Hey, I missed you with the Les Murdoch stuff, but it's nice to see you in chat. So welcome, welcome. Well, today with Scientology, there is a lot. And so I'm hoping not to bore you, but the intriguing things about this particular case is well, again, Scientology is like notorious for their filings, thousands and thousands of pages. Okay, they like to tie things up in court, back and forth on things, little idiosyncrasies. But in particular, with this case, it becomes quite a thing for me actually, and I'm following it a little more closely. Not just because I really, really detest any organization that causes damage to others in their life in general. And I will have to say that I am a little bit biased against Scientology in that nature because I do feel that they're a cult. I do feel that their mindset causes great harm and damage. I've followed quite a few other cases in regards to Scientology, and I'm still following the civil lawsuit of the Jane Does for harassment against Danny Masterson in particular in Scientology, David Miscavige et al. I'm gonna keep following that one also. Oh, that has a tentative trial date of September of 2025, actually. Quite a bit away. This current case with Leah Remini is also for harassment. And I want to stress that because Leah is not attacking them for being a cult. She's not attacking them for what they believe in, how they're going to clear the world. Well, Leah Remini is purposely coming out and saying, free speech or religious freedom and all of this does not entitle anyone to break the law. And just because Leah Remini left the church, she does not deserve to be harassed to an extent of criminal, actually. Now, she's filing a civil lawsuit because also Leah Remini is the strong advocate to come out to say that there's something wrong in the LA Police Department because they are unable to get charges pushed through, even with evidence of serious wrongdoing going on by the Church of Scientology. People's animals have been killed. Homes have been broken into. There have been physical assaults of some nature. There's documented proof of investigators who admit to being paid, violating people's personal privacy, breaking into their homes, things of this nature. They get followed, they get harassed. There's been contract interference, which is against the law. That's a crime. And can be pursued. Well, Leah was pretty clear in her filing in the beginning. Let me bring up the presentation to follow along here a little bit. In case anyone doesn't remember who Leah Remini is, she was an actress, King of the, from the King of the King. She did a great job. She's funny. She got a great sense of humor. She's been in several sitcoms. Well, she's more well known for her series on Scientology called Aftermath, rather. I'm sorry, with Mike Rinder, and she's been an advocate for those leaving the Church of Scientology or those even in the Church of Scientology who are trying to find their way with support. She has been out of Scientology for quite a number of years. since the wedding of Tom and Katie Holmes, when she discovered that Shelley Miscavige was not around. She was a friend of Shelley Miscavige. Per her statement, she asked where Shelley was, and apparently she did the wrong thing, and she'd been actually retaliated against inside of the church before she left for several years. And those stories are quite horrendous and are documented in her filing. What had happened to her while she was there and while she actually decided to leave. Uh, she has had a large press campaign against her. There are stories and articles written about her, falsehoods against her family, things that she's done. She's been a supporter of those trying to file lawsuits or trying to find their way out. She is a visible supporter. Okay. Now, to hear now the other side of the coin is that Scientology actually tries to use that against her. Says that she only got famous because she was against Scientology, that she's making her claim to fame by being against Scientology. But I would like to remind them, Scientology, that you go to actors and those that are in there. And yes, Leah became famous because when she was a Scientologist, and as long as she was an actress, making her way and bringing you more Scientologists, like she got a lot of people involved in this. Okay, she was very gregarious. She was very personable. But you had no problem with her fame when she was inside your organization. um you seem to have much more different take on it now that she's outside of your organization and it's being used against you. Well, no one could doubt that there's well, Leah Remini is not someone that gets pushed around easily. um she admits to being down about it for quite some time. She admits that it has been difficult for her. It was not easy to leave the church. She had problems with her family. uh, she had to find her way. Well, Leah stood up and is still standing up for everyone that suffers at the hands of Scientology and David Miscavige in particular. Um, she doesn't mince her words. Well, sometimes that gets used against her. She is volatile. She is strong, and she's very forthcoming with her opinions about what is happening here. Well, let's get down to actually what the case. Okay. Um, Leah filed her original case this summer, and we started covering it back then. Her original filing was August 2nd. Um, the Church of Scientology originally only put out a statement. Okay. They originally just a two-page statement. They were acting like, oh, this is beneath them. They're not even going to address it that firmly. They just wanted to counter everything. Um, this first link is to the shareable. Oh, no, that's not the right link. Forget that. Forget that. I copied the wrong link. I gotta erase it as soon as it comes up. Hold on. This one, let's just do it like this. If I just do this. Here we go. This is actually the complaint. That's her original complaint. There was an amendment after. Hey, Darth, nice of you to join us. Hey. So her original complaint was August 2nd. The Scientology statement followed afterwards. And basically, it was not even filed with the court, it was a public release. Their filing would come much later. Well, before the filing even happened, after this, they put out this very benign statement, basically just attacking her, saying she's sour grapes, whatever, whatever. They're not really worried about it. But Leah, before the month was even out, Leah Remini filed an amended complaint. Okay, first amended complaint of just harassment that sped up and was actually done against her after the filing. So this I found to be very clever and quite useful because it shows a repeat of pattern here, it shows an intent on Scientology to actually continue with the behavior as if they're not doing anything wrong. And it also shows that she's got people working on it all the time. She is documenting what is happening to her consistently through private investigators, through, security guards, getting affidavits from people that are witnessing what is going on. It's not going to be just her word. Um, the reason I wanted to file this case and follow it so closely out of all of the Scientology cases is not only because Leah Remini is an actual force out there as far as advocacy, but also because of her documentation of it. She is actually, it's been 17 years of harassment, and she took this time to file it because the climate is changing a little bit. Okay, there have been several rulings in courts recently and in the last few years that have gone against Scientology, and that normally did not happen. There has been Supreme Court rulings, especially in the Masterson case, that said this is not religion and protected under religion. And actually, free speech, the First Amendment, and also protections of religious freedoms do not allow the breaking of law. They do not allow you to commit criminal offenses against anyone. Now, you can call yourself a religious organization. You could say you're working for the greater good. But if you break the law or you cause people harm, there's going to be pushback. There's going to be pushback. And I am finally glad to see that in writing from the Supreme Court. They actually said that when the three women in the Masterson case, uh, Scientology filed against them that said because they signed contracts with the church, never to go against them, even when they left, they couldn't file any kind of civil or criminal thing unless they went through Scientology first. And that went through several layers. It went through the state Supreme Court and all the way up. It went all the way up. And finally, they said, no, the actions that you took against them, you cannot suppress the filing of a complaint of a criminal offense. Okay. No, it doesn't matter what they signed. What you did to them after and what you're trying to prevent, that doesn't require church mediation. They are no longer your church members. And the laws of the land are what we are looking at here, not your contract. Okay. But because they did that, one of the most interesting parts of the Masterson trial actually happened because Scientology used their own doctrine to fight. The Scientology lawyers, I should be specific. David Miscavige never showed up in there. Neither did any representative of the church to actually appeal. Okay, it was the lawyers actually brought the doctrine of Scientology. I use the word doctrine loosely, only to mean what it means largely, as in a group of writings that represent where they're coming from. Let's just say that. And they actually brought that all in to fight that they were members and they had to go to mediation through there. They had to go through trial within the church first. Since they brought that all in and it was now part of the argument, it was able to be used in the church in the actual trial. And then they complained about that. You can't use our words against us. Like, that's not fair. We're like, no, sorry, boo. You can't use it to defend yourself or make an argument and then say the prosecution can't use parts of it as to how you were harassing the members, the ex-members of your church. It was quite interesting to me. I mean, they were crying foul, but I digress. I'm just fondly remembering some of the legal tidbits of that case because it was an emotional case. Um, just filing up, ending up with Danny Masterson being found guilty on two of the charges against him and facing pretty much life in jail. Who is now has been rumors is excommunicated from the Church of Scientology, but I have to see them actually do a written statement on that yet. Anyway, back to Leah's case. That amendment filing came out in the end of August. Okay. In the meantime, true to their actual style of defending against lawsuits, and I would also like to mention that for a church that's doing such great things across the world, all internationally. I would like to tell you that there are hundreds, if not 1,000, lawsuits against Scientology in all countries, and that some countries have gone so far as to ban their practices because of the damage and the lawsuits that get filed against them. It's getting people are getting braver to work against this unified cult, damaging cult, with a practice that they call fair game. That means that anybody's against them, they will use any means to take them down. Any means. Their own members say one word and they become ostracized, tortured, harassed, penalized to greatest extent. As in the filing by Leah Remini, she documented very well that when she asked about Shelley Miscavige, what happened to her afterwards, how they persecuted her, how they tried to turn her around just from asking questions. She was penalized for asking a question. She was penalized again for looking for information. Um, Inquiring minds are not welcome in Scientology. It's like you got to drink the Kool-Aid. Mm. And if the Kool-Aid kind of gets you interested in anything else, well, they're going to take the Kool-Aid away and they're going to use torture and they're going to use shame and they're going to deny you food or make you work extra hours. They're going to strip you of your standing. They're going to shun you even inside the organization to try to get you to do what they want. And they're going to actually gaslight you into believing this is all your fault. It's a common thing, a very, very common thing in Scientology is to turn it all around on you. If anything bad happens in your life, Scientology doctrine says you brought it on. What did you do that brought this on? You're obviously not clear. You obviously have something either in your past life or you're hiding something from us. So let's bring you into a room, put two cans in a string and a little bit of electric current in your hands, and let's go into your deepest, darkest secrets and try to get all this stuff. Oh, while we create a file to use against you at any given time that we don't like what you say or did, or you looked cross-eyed at another member. Let's all go there. Okay. But anyway. Hey, Hawk. It's nice to see you. Hey, Mousy and Liam. I see you snuck in. Yeah, it's good. Hey, Roden. It's good to see you too. So anyway, anybody I missed, I'm sorry. I'm not looking at the chat as much right now while I got on my little soapbox here. I digress. Like I said, I definitely digress from on that one. But anyway, that's why I am definitely involved in this, and I hope that some of the legal part of it will entice you guys as you go on. But anyway, back to the filings. The Church of Scientology, of course, they're going to file, right? They have to, right? I mean, there's no way that they're just going to let Leah Remini just do whatever, right? No, there's definitely going to be pushback. And oh, by the way, I just got to thank Mocking Media for the help with the thumbnail. Now, I did actually reuse this one. You see, like the first one was about the complaint. We did that like at the beginning, the end of August, the beginning of September. But then there's the pushback, right? But I just adore the idea of David Miscavige in a birdcage. In Leah's smirk just says everything to me. Everything, you know. I'm telling you. I I just adored what they did there. So I'm going to keep that up for a little bit while we talk about Scientology's answer to Leah Remini. In true style, thousands of pages. I kid you not. I kid you not. Thousands of pages. Okay. They filed a motion to strike going against trying to lay out the whole history of everything Leah Remini ever said or did on her public broadcast, like on her shows, on the Aftermath show, interviews that she did, tried to just, every trial she showed up who was in support against to go with the victims instead of actually supporting Scientology. So anything that they found remotely contrary to their reputation, anything she did as an advocate for those that are being harmed, they put in this filing. And then they filed Dun dun dun. Well, you can probably guess. You want to guess, what they really want to use besides their strike, which they're heavily, heavily depending on First Amendment freedom of speech. And we're going to get to that in just a minute because, boy, do I have something to say about that. Um, Leah Remini's complaint is about harassment and breaking the law. Leah Remini is not actually filing. Well, she does say there were libel and defamation statements made. Yes, she does. But the bulk of this claim is about action, not defamation of character. The bulk of this complaint is about criminal acts, could be considered criminal acts that no one will pursue against Scientology. She says that there has been contract interference. Okay, that's a crime. Okay, harassment is a crime to the extent that Leah Remini has had. Okay, she says it has affected her mental well-being, her therapy. It has affected all the jobs that she can get. That they have defamed her character and they have interfered in her life, and that is in there too. Well, First Amendment free speech again does not give you the right to break the law. And protection of the free speech does not give you the right to harass someone. Okay. There are tons of cases that are won every day where people try to say, well, that was just free. I could say whatever I want. Yes, you can. That's true. But two things can be true at the same time. Not only is it true that you can say whatever you want, but it's also true that you too shall suffer the consequences of those words. And if those words violate a law, you're going to get charged. And if those words cause the person such severe harm that it affects them in such a way that you should have to pay monetarily for doing intentional harm, okay? Free speech does not guarantee that you could do whatever the hell you want. That's not what it says. Okay? The Constitution does not say do whatever you want, whenever you want, and suffer no consequences for it. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It says that everybody has the right to life and liberty. Everybody, including the people you're talking about in your free speech or causing harm to in your free speech, which means there gets to be pushback. And I'm all here for the pushback. You know, matter of fact, I'm thinking about changing my name from Bear to Pushback just for the end of the year. I think that could be lit. You know, it amuses me greatly, as you can tell. Well, Scientology does not amuse me at the least. No, I see too much damage. They don't even let you process. If you get violated in Scientology, you're not allowed to complain. If you witness the breaking of a law or you're done great harm, you're not allowed to go to an outside organization to say a word. You know, those that need to keep their actions and their deeds in the dark and in silence, those that need to actually duct tape and silence their own members, what makes you think they are actually doing the right thing? Well, that just automatically speaks to me about what you're hiding. What are you so afraid of? Why are you afraid of the truth? Why are you afraid of the truth? If you're doing the right things, Scientology, you're so damn great. You know, you're building all these buildings and collecting all these monies from people who, well, most of them really just don't really fit in anywhere. And you're trying to make them feel superior. So they throw money at you. So you give them awards and you put their names in all of your papers and stuff. But what are you really doing for them? No. What are you really doing for them? Are you really giving them a purpose? Do they understand the purpose that you just gave them? To terrorize anybody who doesn't agree? Because, I wish they would wake up a little and understand that that's what their money's being used for. Private investigators, you know, harassers, paying for articles, paying for officials, paying for government officials, paying for law enforcement officials. There's other words for that, words that I don't want to get in trouble for using on YouTube. Um, yeah, but I'm not making any accusations. This is just the pushback. They get to say whatever they want, and at the same time, so do I. I'm not breaking the law by saying that I think that Scientology is a damaging organization. It is damaging to free speech because the way they wield that free speech clause is a joke. It actually takes away from it. It actually makes it mean so much less to all of us on an individual basis. All of us. And that's why collectively there needs to be pushed back against it. I'm hoping that this actually gets slammed down in the anti-SLAPP. Now, anti-SLAPP is a very valuable law, and many states have them, and even federally we have. Well, it is to protect freedom of speech. It is to say that you can go and make a speech about something, okay? And just because somebody doesn't agree with you or they're mentioned in it, it's so that people can bring forward the truth, right? People want to be able to bring forward the truth, okay? Leah Remini should have the right to bring forward the truth, and Scientology has the right to push back. Do they have the right to harass, cancel her contracts, contact everybody who knows her in the industry, and try to tell them that they're going to bring big advertisers against them? Spend every making moment trying to get her show taken off the air. Yeah. Which never really worked, although it did cause a lot of problems for guests. Guests were harassed. Everybody was freaking harassed and involved with that show. There's ongoing documentation in this case of what happened behind the scenes there. Every letter that came, the legal precedences that the Scientology tried to push on them, the filings that they made against them, but you know in that show, Leah talked about her personal experience, and she did that show with Mike Rinder, who was well versed in the Fair Game Act. Mike Rinder was fair game in Scientology. He admits it. He apologizes to it. He knows very well. He has every right to speak about his experience in Scientology, what he knows for a fact. How do they say that that's violating free speech or that they're going against them in every falsehood when they're talking about their personal experience in Scientology? Okay, and Scientology says their personal experience with Leah Remini is that she's a troublemaker, that she lies, that she's not a good person, and she shouldn't be allowed to mention their name because she's not worthy. I really don't find that to be a very valid legal argument. Leah Remini is not breaking the law. Okay, they should actually file a defamation suit if they're really worried about their reputation, because it seems that that's all they really have here to say, because Leah Remini has not broken the law. Okay, and all of these filings that are coming forward now are actually going to show it. So Scientology put out a 1,000-page motion to strike, going over everything Leah has said and this, that, note, trying to prove her to just be a troublemaker who's trying to ruin Scientology. Okay. And she did do the bulk of what they're putting in there. It's very well documented. All of those articles were written, all of those statements were made, all of those shows were done. Okay. But they are not against the law. And telling the truth about the organization is not actually a crime. She didn't commit a crime. However, their retaliation against her crosses that line many, many times. Okay. It's not Leah Remini who hired an investigator to follow, harass, or to call everyone that she worked with. It wasn't Leah Remini who's doing that. Okay. It is Scientology. From what I'm seeing in the documentation going back and forth. So then, okay, we've got lots and lots of paper. And now, granted, Leah Remini is also filing rather large. I mean, her original complaint is 700 pages. Mhm. Yeah, she filed 700 pages. And you know what? It's very well documented. And she continues, she added to it at the end of August again. And she has also now pushed back against Scientology. Okay, I think I did just copy. Let me just do it again. Um, Scientology did put another response out. Okay, and this is a copy of a link. Deadline actually got this PDF here for me, so it will, like, it's for you just to read. You can't actually put it up in print anywhere, but Deadline will be in the watermark there. It will be listed in the description below, but the Church of Scientology has actually pushed back. Okay, but in regards to some of the other things that have been filed, okay, um the paperwork has just been flying. They definitely flying. Okay, in regards to the anti-slap, there was a 2-page motion filed by the defendants, which are the Church of Scientology, the Research Center, in David Miscavige. By the way, I mean, she cross-complained them all, and she did actually get proof that David Miscavige has been served. Yes, okay. Well, anyway, they filed the attorneys for the defendants had filed that they wanted to do another 30-page amendment in support for David Miscavige in the research part, for the Church of Scientology about the other document. They wanted to do some additional. Leah Remini had said she thought 30 pages was too much, but she would go along with whatever the court said. Um, in in speaking of the court, one of the things that happened in August and September, if you remember, we went to 2 judges right away before we got to our third judge, which is Judge Randolph Hammock, who is actually looking at everything now. The first two were, the second one, Barbara Plessa, she actually recused herself because of her husband actually doing work for Scientology. So she quite responsibly recused herself immediately when her number came up. And the first judge was actually asked to be replaced by Leah Remini's lawyers team because of his actual involvement with Scientology cases in the past, in some other things that they found would actually be prejudicial, which is their right. Either party has the right, based on the judge assigned, to ask for a reassignment if they think it's not going to be fair to them, for whatever reason. They get to do that. Hey Brad, hey Juju. So here we are. Remini filed a detailed motion addressing each incident that Scientology brought up in their actual motion to strike and as a like. And also, what I wanted to talk about is that Mike Rinder, who has the most experience of anyone that I have seen talking about this out there. Mike Rinder has his own YouTube channel. He started it. He does it podcast style with Leah Remini. He has done talks. He has done shows. He has been a guest everywhere. He's got books, a lot of books out there. You should, if you want to educate yourself on how this whole policy worked, Mike Rinder was there. Mike Rinder worked the policy, wrote the policy. He enforced the policy. And then Scientology, when he kind of went against him, and he was actually punished under this same fair game policy. Scientology does not like the fact that he's out here actually speaking about it. Of course they don't. Okay. But they can't control Mike Rinder's experience. Okay. And Mike Rinder is actually with Leah on this lawsuit, and he filed an affidavit with the court in regards to the policies and his history with Scientology. Now, Mike Rinder has been in Scientology for well over 50 years. He was a Scientology. His parents got involved in 1960 when he was like 5 years old. He has grown up in Scientology. You don't get to be a child for very long in Scientology. And one of the things you'll learn if you read anything about Scientology is the children are separated from their parents as soon as they get there. And they're cared for by other members, and that at a very young age, like as soon as they hit double digits, they're working force. There are lawsuits going through the system now in regards to many of the children who grew, several of the children that have joined together about, especially the Sea Org, to where they were put to work at the age of 10 and 11 and 12 for ungodly hours against law. You see, here's the thing. Now people are learning that, well, we just think Scientology is a terrible organization. But you know what? You can't file a lawsuit going, Scientology bad, everybody else good. That doesn't exist. You actually need a law. They need something criminal or some civil violation of your rights to actually file a lawsuit. Civil lawsuits are mostly, we want you to apologize for being a bad SOB and pay me some money. That's civil. I got a point to make, and I want the court to hear it, and I want somebody to tell me I'm right. That's civil lawsuits in a nutshell. Okay, and then of course there's money. Some civil lawsuits are trying to get money back, things like that. Criminal lawsuits address the fact that, yo, you went too far, you broke the law, and here's your punishment for it. It is different. Criminal lawsuits don't get to be brought by civilians, the regular citizen. Not here in the United States. A citizen needs to report the criminal offense to a governing agency, and they need to take it forward to have it legally filed as a charge. Okay. Without that happening, which is according to not only Leah Remini, but several, especially in the Masterson case, it became very evident that it took a lot to get charges filed about a blatant criminal offense. Years. That happens to be something that Leah Remini talks about a lot. Okay. She's met with LA Police Force. She's trying to work with them. There is a big social and political actual force at movement there. There are connections there. There are other cases that I'm following. Yep, I'm going to drop the name, the Marilyn Manson case. Clearly, there is some problem there with the Los Angeles Police Department. And actually, going forward, there seems to be a political agenda going on. And they actually, with proven documentation, and I will just put one fact out there, there was proven documentation that a letter was submitted through their court system, falsifying that it came from an FBI agent, and they're doing nothing about it. Nothing that we know of. I should say that. Allegedly, they're doing nothing because, the laws of justice move quite slowly, so they could be investigating, and we may hear about it in 5 or 10 years, or well after we're out of the Marilyn Manson case. It might become pertinent and charges will be filed against the person who did that. But we'll see. But currently, right now, it fits their agenda against abuse and this and that to not go against anyone that's a public figure that is standing as an advocate against abuse, because there are plenty in that system who are actually looking for positions, political positions, based on that platform. And with a platform like that, well, they're all just moving to one side, which has been my complaint from the start about this whole movement, is that when you move it all to one side, it becomes lopsided and your ship sinks, as it should. And I'm talking about the Me Too movement right here. Anybody that's been following my channel knows that I am actually in support of a lot of the legislation and a lot of the premise of what they stood for. But I won't stand for how they're doing it. Not anymore. Not when they think it's okay to stand behind false accusations, not doing the right thing, misrepresentation of the facts, outright lies, just because someone is famous and they can get some praise on it or part of their organization. If you do not police your own organization to do the right thing, then you're a joke. And unfortunately, it's become quite extreme. It's become quite damaging. And, I do a little bit of pushback on that too. Well, anyway, back to Scientology. Okay. Mike Rinder, as one of the main people out there talking about fair game with actual evidence of how it does, because he lived it. Okay. He served in the Office of Special Affairs, which was the ones who actually were what they call Scientology's CIA, or their secret organization, that they found out all this stuff about everybody. They investigated everybody. He was under the direct supervision of David Miscavige for 20 years. Okay. They carry out operations against those who speak out against Scientology. This is loosely known as their retaliation group. Anybody who speaks out against Scientology is called a suppressive person. Okay. Mm. But here we go. Because of his role in Scientology, he has the knowledge. Okay. And he's speaking on it. He's talking about the tactics that Leah Remini clearly is claiming happened to her in her filing. And he is sending in this affidavit in support of Leah Remini and in documentation that, these things happen. Okay. And here is Tony Ortega's Substack article listing by point. Because here's the thing, all of these filings, and they're huge, okay? In LA, you can only get this stuff. You got to pay like page for page for page. And, since this is a hobby and, I donate all the money, I'm not going to spend hundreds of dollars on Scientology. I'm going to go to the people that are reporting on it and get as many documents as I can for you all. And I do have the complaint. I do have listings of what is inside. Tony Ortega doesn't list it. When he lists these bullets, 1 through whatever, he's pulling it right from the document. Okay. That much I trust because I have matched up documents to his reporting myself, just to make sure. I don't say that you should take any article by word. Okay. But places like Deadline and even in the Daily, even in England, the Guardian actually sometimes will put links to the actual document. The reporters will get the files and all, and when those links are available, I always give them to you. But I've made a decision not to line the pockets of the of the LA court system anymore after going through all the filings on the Masterson and actually going into the red over all of that, just to make sure that what we were reading was what we were reading. It's just not worth it. Okay. This is a very public case. These documents will be available. They'll be on Cloud Skype. They'll be in script. Eventually they will all show up there and we'll be able to pull it all together. You know, it's just like, thanks for agreeing with me, Darth. I just can't, I just can't. I want to see it in black and white, but I am trusting the most of this here, especially since Mike Rinder just did an actual podcast on it in the words. I mean, he knows what he filed and he's actually supporting that at all, that this is all the same. Okay. Um, Have a coffee. Thank you, Mark. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. The bear loves her coffee, right? Like, yes, I do. Yes, I absolutely. I'm addicted, I admit. Thank you so much. I will have that coffee on you. Okay. Let me just do before I carry on any farther with this, because there's a few other things I want to talk about legally, but I want to check for some questions. Hey, Rocky Couch, how you doing? Personally, I believe that the strength of an organization is propaganda is proposed in a strength of an organization's propaganda is proportional to its fragility, and Scientology seems to do a lot of propaganda. I could not have said that better. I mean, I should have said it better. I kind of mangled your statement, but basically, yes, I think they protest too much. They look weak. I did just ask about self-regulating religious institutes. For shame. I hear you, Jen, and welcome. Well, they really should, because I don't got time for this, and we shouldn't have to. I'm not part of their organization. They should care more about what they're doing. Actually, they are actually the ones that need to care about it, not me. Well, they're making me care about it because they're doing it all wrong. It's so bad. It smells so bad. I'm just doing it for the fresh air committee people. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I heard, okay. That's a very fun, Liam. I do appreciate that funny comment there. There's your banner. Okay. Apparently the banner left to leave to join a band, but I got it back. Okay. I see that, Mippet. I see that. Everybody's worried about my banner. I do forget often. You guys know I hate doing the YouTubey things. I did. I did. I do believe he does too. I do. He's had a few problems, and I kind of got caught up in that a little bit. In regards to the defendants in the Masterson case, to another lawsuit, and I do understand both sides of it. I do. Okay. Let me see. Yep. Mhm. Okay. There's so many of you. Hey, Bliss Chris, nice to see you. It's been a while. Hope you're doing okay. Exactly, Liam. In regards to Leah Remini's suit, it's not like she's talking about something that happened to anybody else. She's talking about her personal experience and she's documenting it quite well. And I do believe she's got every right to do that. Well, this is what's going to make it so hard on this case, okay? Because like Deadline did a good article in. I'm going to give this to you. This was at the end of October, but they put both sides of it in there for you. They're seeking to gut it based on free speech, okay? And like I said, they also say, Leah is refusing to be quiet about what has happened to you. She is pushing back on it. But Scientology says, well, we refuse to remain silent on the face of threats and violence that Leah Remini speaking out on her own has caused us harm. People don't like us anymore. Like, people want us to stop. And this isn't right. And it's against all free speech. Like, we should be allowed, they can do whatever they want, But at the end of August, October, when they filed their actual or late filing, um, they said that when you remove the allegations that depend on non-actionable statements, protected petitioning, and all of that, or are outside the statute of limitations, because she did go back 17 years, okay, there is virtually nothing left. And they actually just quoted Remini over and over and over again, saying, like, this is her, and we're just retaliating to her about this, okay? When they're forgetting the thing that they did before her statement. So, in other words, like, they would put her statement and then their retaliation to it, but they're not putting their original statement that caused her statement. So, like, they're actually taking it out of context a little bit. They're kind of fluffing with the timeline, a little bit. They're not putting the rest of the context there, which is common. I mean, when you're doing point for point argument in legal, that happens all the time. I'm not saying that there's any violation of anything going on with that. I'm just saying you got to look a little bit further than that. They actually depended on Leah Remini's quotes and statements themselves and just fired back point by point. Okay. And by the way, the Scientology uh, group of lawyers that is following this are Winston and Strawn LLP and Jeffer Mangles Butler and Mitchell LLP. Okay, two huge groups. Okay, um, in the anti-SLAPP, they are saying that the anti-SLAPP statute demands that a frontal assault on First Amendment protected speech should be stricken. It shouldn't go forward. Well, actually, there's a lot in Leah's complaint that is not just free speech. She's not complaining about what she is complaining about what they said. Well, she's also complaining about what they said and what it caused, okay? Or she's actually, is it actually free speech to pick up a phone and call and interfere in someone's contract negotiations? I'd like to ask you guys, look, I mean, we should all be able to free to say and do what we want, right? But is that actually, should that be protected under the anti-SLAPP as First Amendment right for free speech? I mean, if you're picking up the phone to do it and to interfere in someone's contract with the intent to not have them hired, is that free speech or is that actionable offense? You see, actionable offense, you can file a lawsuit on. Okay. I say it's not free speech. I say it's an action. I say it's an intended action against someone. And anytime you make an intended action against someone, whether it be with words or whatever, intended action is actionable. That just makes sense to me. I think that is what they should look at. It's the intent there. And usually with anti-SLAPP, intent will come in. All right. The fact that all they have is the First Amendment to protect them here, not once, not once in a 1,000-page filing by Scientology did they say they didn't do it. Not once did they deny the harassment or any of that. They didn't attack that, oh, well, that person doesn't work for us. What they did say is you cannot prove this one, or this one is related to Scientology. But actually, Leah Remini's filing did. She did do some work in drawing the lines that connects them. Okay. She actually did. Okay. And actually, I'm kind of surprised that Scientology went this route. Because there was a lawsuit prior that set precedent about anti-SLAPP. Okay. Um, you know, in their filings, they also, like in their statement, they called her a bigoted person. They used language that was quite prejudicial. They called her, a horrible human being, evil, like really personal stuff. Okay. But there was an actual another lawsuit. Um, that was filed for the church, and that actual lawsuit actually let the you know, turned away the anti-SLAPP. Okay. Um, and it and in it, that person who actually won that, the process to actually, with the harassment and everything, they actually won that in the Supreme Court, but then mysteriously dropped their charges against dropped their whole lawsuit against, not charges, but lawsuit against Scientology. And their husband actually became a very high person of regard within Scientology and received like this really big job. Um, uh, that's a little sus, just a bit to me, anyway. Uh, I just I'm wondering, I'm wondering why or how, like, someone just drops the suit like that. But then again, they must have had their personal reasons. But there is the precedent that that suit was won, and it can be used by Leah Remini, and I look forward to her lawyers mentioning it repeatedly. Because it did go to the Supreme Court, and they did say that nope, 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 she can sue. So it's not. I don't think it's going to get tossed. Is my final conclusion on this. I think they're going to try everything that they can to get it tossed, but I don't think that it to actually make a lot point by point address her complaint, back and forth about the anti-SLAPP. Now they had 30 pages to do this, which was extraordinary, but she actually did 33 in this filing here, which goes point by point. Leah herself has been a Scientologist for over 35 years. I think, she's qualified to speak on her experience there. Okay. Um, some of the numbers in here, you have to go back to the actual anti-SLAPP that the Church of Scientology filed to run it up, but the most of it is there. The fact that she's got an amendment complaint within 4 weeks speaks volumes. But it brings up an issue abroad. With Scientology, we've got this big target of a harassing group, okay, with lots of history of lawsuits, lots of histories of complaints against them. And I've got to say, quite a few people that I know of that are out here speaking against them on a regular basis. Most of them ex-Scientologists. They start YouTube channels, they start speaking on it. Some of them have done great work to work on themselves and actually to help others that are coming out and start organizations to help people start all over again, especially those that have been in Scientology their whole life and they don't know anything. Because, like, truth is, you leave Scientology, you leave with nothing, because you don't get to bring your family with you. No one's ever going to speak to you from the organization again. It might be all you know, and you only know what they told you are the rules on how to get along in life. I mean, you get out of there and you're able to even use a computer or have a functioning job, like you're doing okay. All right. But you need support. And I'm glad that there are organizations out there doing it. There's some great people. I've talked with Chris Shelton before on my channel. He did several of my cult conversations with me. He's talked about Scientology and cults in general. He was a Scientologist, but he also believes that, uh, on the therapist end of it, in the psychological end of it, in what happens to people. He likes to promote it, organizations to actually get the help that you need, and he's a big part of that, and I applaud him for that. But I always look to him, in regards to talking to him. Not every ex-Scientologist is the same. Some are out here doing the same things that they learned in Scientology, and it's not exactly, something I can hold against them if it's all they know. But I do want to call out if they're causing harm. There are others doing great work in exposing, um, the wrongs that are happening and helping to make a climate. And here's the kicker in what I want to support: to make a climate to where people are allowed to tell their stories, to come forward and to get the assistance that they need when they feel that they have been wronged by this organization. Because for many, many years, if you even said the word Scientology, there was horrible repercussions against you. Now, just as an example, you will notice if you try to tag Scientology on YouTube, you can't. It's blank. It doesn't come up. Now, I tag it anyway because I think people will search it, but it's not helping. It won't help promote my video. It doesn't help get anything out there. It's not going to get in the algorithm. As a matter of fact, doing a video on Scientology right now, especially for a channel my size, so small, is probably going to cause more harm than good. But it's not going to stop me from speaking about it because, well, I feel, as you can tell by how I talk about it, very strongly about the issue. An organization this large, with all that money and all that influence, could be doing good things, but I don't see it. Okay, they say they do it. They say they started children's schools. Okay, those children's schools that promoted child labor. And only the rights of Scientology were pushed forward. There was no real education in that time. You weren't allowed to really know a lot. Okay, they kind of cultivated the education towards their views of the world. And I say, well, that's not really an education. Education should be open to all and let people, like, make up their own mind. But hey, I digress. That just could be my Western civilization way of looking at things. I don't know. I'm an American. I can be very, very crass and very limited in how I look at things, based on freedom and such in this country. But if Scientology, as Americans here filing an anti-SLAPP to try to use our Constitution, they need to be aware that their actions and what they stand for and as an organization has to follow those. Has to here in this country, just like in other countries that they have been banned or they have been held to task for promoting awful things. They have to obey those rules too, because just becoming an organization, and Scientology likes to really tout themselves as a religion, but, well, shall I remind you that it was a religion created by L. Ron Hubbard, who was a writer of science fiction. I kid you not. That's the truth. He wrote it. He designed it. Is it really a religion? Is L. Ron Hubbard a god? Has anybody gone through all the steps of Scientology, which I heard are impossible, in that you have to pay every cent of the way? I mean, is it really religious? Can you actually use the word religious whenever you have a group of beliefs that you're trying to shove down somebody's throat? I mean, these. I know you can't answer that question for me, anyone, or YouTube, or anyone in the universe. But seriously, it's not. And they have fought. They get here in the United States. They get the tax credit for it. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. It went back and forth and back and forth, and I do hope it comes up again and it gets yanked, because if they continue to be a harassing organization, it can be. You know. I know, Pete. Can I come to, Pete? That's send me your doctrine. I might be interested in your religion. Yeah, I seriously might. I seriously might. Yes, I would ask Chris. Mark, I have asked Chris. We've had a great conversation on it actually. I love to talk to Chris. But I look forward to. I'm going to have to hit him up. I want to talk to him again. But anyway, I'm going to look for some more questions in the chat. Um, and then we're going to get to where it stands right now. We do the last I heard there was supposed to be in this actual civil case with Leah Remini, there should be a status hearing this month again. Okay. Which I'm hoping they do. But they also think that they did was delay the actual setting of a trial date, to be in 2025, but they actually asked for more time. They both agreed, both sides, plaintiff and defendant, that more time was needed. And it is more than likely because of the length of the filings that everything's doing. But we would like to hear something from the judge on the anti-slaps. Now, remember, that's up to the time frame of the judge. Okay, but the judge usually schedules a hearing for the oral arguments on both sides. If the filings are thousands of 1,000 pages and 700 pages and this and that, and then you got your amendments for 30 pages here, 30 pages there. Can you imagine with those oral arguments for the motion to strike and the actual anti-slap motion all? They're going to be quite long. It would probably be all day. And I don't think we're going to be able to see it. And that I really wish we would be able to, but we'll see. I know criminal court in LA is never publicized, but I'll have to check this out for the civil. I would like to see these hearings like we've been able to with the Daybell in Idaho. Mhm. Yep. Is there any way to make scientography actually interesting? There could be. Mm. Being delusional was his gift and his downfall, gifted as writing, but as out of touch, he was booted from the Navy, then reinvented himself as a cult leader. And I'm glad you mentioned that, Brad, because like part of his whole thing was that they called him the Admiral. This getting booted from the Navy is stated in several books about Scientology to be part of the catalyst as to why he wrote these, along with the actual joke that goes along that it was between two authors and they were just like, I guess I could write a religion, and everybody would just follow it, and it was like a bet of some kind. But anyway, he actually calls himself the Admiral. Okay, I don't know what he was. Brad says he was a second lieutenant from the chat. I'm reading this in when he was in the Navy and he got booted. But the Sea Org, actually the control group, one of the powerful parts of Scientology, is based on naval premises in the ranking and everything. You know, Admiral is a joke. That's what he calls himself inside of Scientology. Okay, yeah, I'll tell you. Hmm. Are you guys talking about the percentages they should pay in tax? Like, if Scientology paid tax at all, we would have, like, in our country alone, based on the kinds of money that they bring in and the investments that they're making, we could solve a lot of our problems here. This giving tax exempt status needs to be looked at, especially in organizations that are causing harm to American citizens, to hundreds and thousands of American citizens. Although I will admit that the actual Scientology numbers are dwindling. They would like you to think they're not, but they are. They're not as big as they say, you know. Just the top three richest churches. Oh, I don't care. You know what? Um, hmm. That would be interesting. I don't think every church deserves to lose it. You know, Basically the reason they were tax exempt because it used to be like quite popular for churches to take care of the poor. And it was actually in the government's best interest to have the church out there with more money to be able to do good deeds. Okay. You know. Oh, yep. It's how to make it's how to make being in. I don't know. I do know that they do actually serve a purpose to people that are looking to belong to something. It's within our human nature to want to belong, okay? To find a place where we fit in and to have a general purpose. And they do seem to be quite attractive to people that are looking for something, and they do seem to say the right things. Also, remember, they told that their mission is to clear the world, to make the world a better place, to solve the evils of the world and make more people like the people looking for purpose in a sense of belonging to actually feel like they're doing the right thing, you know? And so, like in Leah Remini's case, I read Alison Mack, several ex cult autobiographies that I've read, that is what drew them to the cult in the first place. It's just that sense of belonging. And just hearing what they needed to hear, that they weren't alone in the world, that there were people that thought like them, there were people with the same goals as they had, and to belong of something bigger than themselves that's going to make a difference. Because, as a human, as a human going in this world, which I will admit I've got in most cases, especially currently now this time of year, the world is shite, people. Yeah. The world can be quite negative, and it's not really good to go through life thinking that all the time. It doesn't make for pleasant days or get you anywhere. It can kind of stagnate you, put you in feet. It can kind of hold your feet to the ground when you really look at it realistically of all the horrible things that happen. Yes, they do. But there are good things too. In mostly we would like to actually bond ourselves to those good things. And so you would think, like, if an organization is saying they're going to do good things, and they, with the power of everybody joining together, we can actually make a change that you yourself can't do individually. Because having a good attitude about it doesn't change a damn thing. It gets you through. Yes, it does. Being positive can move you forward, help you through your days, make one day go into the next. But does it change the condition of the world in any way? No. It might change the feeling in a room. It might change the attitude of others around you. It might make other people's day just a little bit brighter. Yeah, I get all that. But does it actually change the status of the world in general and the things that go on? The complete uphill climb we all have to make, and very few of us succeed. The pressure we feel every day doesn't go away because we put on a smile, right? But this is how they get people into the cults. I'm supreme poobah and ultimate cheesinator of my imaginary world. And you know what? I think that's great. Okay, awkward confession. One of my favorite YouTubers is a Scientologer. I don't blame you. Talk to me about it. I can, like, some of them come up with some very, very interesting takes on a lot of things. Okay, this is a good question. Okay, from Autistic Shield, and thank you for being here and modding, Shield. I got to know why Jim Humble is no longer in Scientology. Could he have actually been too much of a loon for Scientology? I don't think so, but gotta wonder. Hmm, I'd have to look into it before I give thoughts on it there. I don't know. He did have some quite entertaining statements on things. Hmm. I am glad that so many of you are admirals of your imaginary world, because we should be. I really do believe that is an actual positive and amazing thing. I'm so happy to hear you all owning it. All right. Okay. Darth says that the person that he follows is named Aaron Cairo, and he's the founder of the Braille skateboarding. Ah, okay. Awesome. Do you notice that most of the people that are drawn into Scientology have lots and lots of money and are looking for purpose? They are coveted by Scientology, and Scientology actually admits to having a program that these are the ones that they target. We could see why having people like Danny Masterson and Leah Remini and people in Hollywood, okay, big business, big business magnates, okay, uh, the largest supporters of Scientology and the ones that they told, and they do a big great job of celebrating them. Look at all of the little foundation things and the big parties that they throw for them and stuff. There was just one in England recently, a fundraiser that was done, and it was all about giving awards to those with the biggest money, in speeches and meeting with David Miscavige and yada yada yada, really really big. I mean, they do it. And yes, Darth it is. Yes, that's true. Tom Cruise has been said by David Miscavige to be the best Scientologist out there. He's like numero uno. He walks the walk and talks the talk. Yep. As far as I know, there have been, like, I've seen a couple of videos and some articles saying that Tom Cruise was no longer a Scientologist. But when they had that big thing in England just recently, Tom Cruise was there. Yes, he was. Okay. They said that he was there and he was promoting. Now, have I seen video of it? No. But they said he was there and he was promoting and everything was just fine. Yep. I don't know what that question is about there. Okay. Brad, I just love. Okay, now I see what it was. So Brad says when he prays, it gets cloudy and there's always a chance of meatballs, and I love that. I loved that movie. Okay, and Juju wants to know: do you set out the pots and pans to catch the meatballs? And I want to know: are they in any condition to stay in the sauce, and can you eat them later? Because there's got to be more of a purpose. That would make them multifunctional, and I might be into that. Yep. Yeah, Thetans. Yeah. Hmm. Admit it, I am so glad you're the dragon in every world, or dragon queen. Well, okay. I don't see many questions left about the lawsuit. I don't have an actual hearing date about this anti-slap, but I want to continue the conversation because it seems to be prevalent in a lot of cases that I'm going to talk about this week, and there are more. I am going to stream again tomorrow, and I am streaming on Friday in particular. You can check the thumbnails for who we're going to talk about because I don't want to derail the conversation. But there will be a common thread, and that is about these anti-slaps that want to go forward on First Amendment in regards to how much is free speech and where is actually the line going to be. Like, freedom of speech is one thing, freedom without consequences is another. Okay. And it's been up to the law, the Supreme Court, the courts, in general, on every level, whether local or state or all the way up to federal in Supreme, have had to actually look at this over and over again, repeatedly, all this year, in all of the cases that I've been following, on where is the line? When does free speech become actual rhetoric, narrative, or intent to cause harm? Threatening. I mean, we've got cases right now in the Supreme Court. Was it just him saying whatever he wanted to say, or is that really a threat? Because a threat is against the law, right? A threat is something we're not supposed to do to another human being. Okay. In, you know, is it free speech? In, are you allowed to like do all that? Because otherwise, like, there's going to be a lot of people that are sitting in jail, like mobsters and gangsters and everything else, and people who have threatened and harassed. I mean, it's going to really change the climate a bit. What about the climate here on the internet? I mean, what gets me is that people think that this doesn't really matter. Like, why even talk about it? But do you not see the connection to your everyday life here on the internet? On whether or not they're allowed to use this as a cover for any harm that they do to another human being. Think about that. Think about that. And when you wonder why I get up here day after day and hour after hour and speak like this about things that not everybody else is interested in, remember that, because that's it for me most of the time. It is speaking on the things that cause harm that nobody wants to actually do anything about. Here's something we can do about. Okay, here's something we can watch and try to push back on and see. When you try to use existing cover of our First Amendment to do whatever you want and forget about the intent to cause harm, why doesn't the flag come up about, hey, there's the harm? Here's the pushback. Yeah, you can say whatever you want, but there are consequences. You'll be called out for your intent. Watch your intent. Okay? You could say what you want. Most of us do what we want. What we're responsible for is our intent. And what we'll have to answer for always is our intent. So on that, oh, Ricker, thank you for the otters and the strawberries. Nice to see you, as always. Hey, this was a nice little crowd here to talk about Scientology. And I'm going to be doing more of it. And when there's more filings, to say, I'm going to link everything, is including quite a few of Tony Ortega's Substack articles that list the actual content of the filings. And the links that I did give you in the chat, I will make sure that I add to the description if you didn't get a chance to grab them and you want to go back later. I'd also will probably link a couple of the channels that people have. I will list Chris Shelton's channel. I think he's a good resource on the subject of cults in general, if you're interested in following up on that. I'd also like to hear from you guys, put it out there that I'd like to hear about what other cults you'd like to talk about, because I am going to be revamping my Culture Conversations podcast, which was out on several different platforms. But there's a lot, coming into podcast on the platforms is tough, especially if it's very limited. In Culture Conversations actually was. What do you think is more interested? You know, talking about the actual cult itself, or maybe the criminal actions of a cult in true crime, or some other avenue of it. Hmm. That's a cult. Oh, I know, communism. Well, we could talk about that as a cult. That is a definite defined mindset with penalty for going outside of it. True. I could see why that could be considered cultish. I would not, it depends. I mean, there is a part of the Illuminati that I will talk about, and that's actually the YouTuber Illuminati. I wouldn't be surprised if she hits our What the AF end of year summary, which is also what I'm going to be asking you all about in the days on the back of my community tab. Is going to be quite active for December because first of all, I do want to do like the top 5 stories of the year from What the F that really blew your minds away. So if you could think about that, guys, stories that kind of stuck with you that just made your head turn that we may have covered. There's quite a few I'm thinking of. I think doing a video on how gangs are very much like, I do believe this. Gangs are like a mini cult. They have the same mindset on, the initiation right. They got a set of rules, they got a hierarchy, and there's definitely retribution when you try to leave. I mean, we all know this. Like the mob too. Like the one of the biggest cults in America is our organized crime. Is organized crime. Okay. Now, mobsters. Hmm, Yeah. Well, I've always been fascinated with that. Just to blow your mind. Okay, please do that. Please do that. But you know what? Do you know the other YouTuber Illuminati who is actually uses the eye of the Illuminati? Like, the Illuminati is like such a that's like nowadays when anybody hears the word Illuminati, they think conspiracy. So I don't know. Cult, yes, conspiracies are, or cult thinking in itself leads to a lot of conspiracy. So really? They recruit you directly when you get Twitter? I've had Twitter since 2016. Should I be afraid? Have I already been recruited? I guess I should know, you know. I don't know. Pete Hutchins, I'm fascinated with things with, old mob, new mob, Las Vegas mob, Jersey mob, like New York, like all of it. I don't think they want me either. They're Darth. Like, who would want me? I've got to, too big a mouth. And I don't like to follow rules. Like, I'm really not cult material, I don't think. Freemasons is one. Yes, Shill. That is another one. Yeah. Yeah. Mm. Are we starting with the definition of a cult? That's a good one. That's a good one. Maybe I will. Maybe we will start with that for culture conversations in January. That's a good idea, Pete. Let's just start in some examples of cults and not cults and the definition of one. That would be good. Yeah. Oh no. Yes, I got a connection there. Pete, Pete, you always give me a connection. And yeah. Cults and mobs and La La Cosa Nostra is not a holiday destination. No, it's not. Because it's not one you can leave very easily, Liam. No, it's not. At least not intact, you know. Free will good, cults bad. Mipit, I agree with you. And that brings me to another subject that I do want to cover in the future. Anyone who really wants to go head to head with me in the discussion, philosophically or otherwise, on whether free will actually exists, please come. I am dying to have this conversation. It fascinates me. Although, to most of my friends, it is quite boring. So I have to come out here on YouTube and ask for somebody to come talk to me about it. Because if I try to talk about free will on my own, I'm pretty sure they'll send the white coats after me. you know, hey, you're right. Darth Hideous, you could go on forever like that because cartels, biker gangs. I agree with you. The U.S. government itself, right now, what's going on in the Senate, in the Congress, in this us versus them mentality is so cultish. I can't stand it. I just can't stand it. I really can't. But no, lots of cults. It's a fascinating. It's something I am interested in. I do love and that's why I like to follow the actual some of the actual cases that involve the cults legally because there's always something there, especially when they start pulling up this free speech stuff and trying and religious freedoms and they try to drag that all into it. I want to see the law keep it separate. I really do believe in the separation of church and state. I think muddying the waters. I also believe that everyone's allowed to believe what they want. I don't want to infringe on anyone's right for free thinking and thought and how they think that should be. Just don't make me do it, you know? Like, just don't try to write it into law that you have to believe this as far as religious or cult like connotations. Like, that's where I like really, my hockles get in an uproar, so to speak. But on that, I don't want to soapbox too much. In regards to Scientology, Remini, hey, Kat. Hey, Cat Ninja. Good to see you. In regards to Leah Remini in versus Scientology et al., including David Miscavige himself, I think that the hinge of the case is more on the harassment in the criminal aspects that they took that she was not able to file against because no one's going to bring these things forward. Okay. Yes, are there some things that are probably going to get eliminated in her filing based on the timing based on statute of limitations? That is a standard law, and you have to show a reason as to why you couldn't file. One of them that has been used in the past has been emotional distress or the physical limitations of the court itself, the actual cult itself, which was used in the Masterson trial. But I don't think Leah Remini is going to be able to use those. Leah Remini was a functioning person out here in the public. She did have distress. She did have problems. I'm not going to take that away from her. But was she able to do her podcast? Yes. Was she able to do her show? Yes. Okay. Um, in all lights, her public persona would show that she was a functioning person at the time and that, well, statute of limitations loopholes based on that would not really apply. Okay. They all saying that she is saying that they are infringing on her life. She has said that they have had actually interfered with contracts, that she has they have contacted the producers of the show, that they have actually put out pretty damaging articles in regards to her support of and her advocacy. They have made false claims about her relationships with her family and stuff like that. Um they've done physical things. They actually physically follow her everywhere, block her places, taunt her in groups. There is an investigator that admitted he was hired just to be on her 24/7. Um, yeah, it is infringing on her life. There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt that it is infringing on her life. Well, what they say Scientology is saying that they have a right to infringe on her life because she doesn't like them. The fact that that beliefs say we must respect their beliefs means they have the right to believe what they want. We don't have to think those beliefs are good. Exactly. And don't, like, tell me that I have to do it. Like, don't make it something that I need to do. I'm interested in believing it rains meatballs. I want to believe so much that it's true. You know what? It does sound like it would be kind of nice, but what condition are those meatballs going to be? And like, we don't even know if they're good meatballs yet, Choo. Like, I don't want it to rain meatballs unless I know they're really, really good meatballs. And since I didn't make them, like, hmm, I have my doubts. I have my doubts that they're actually worthy. It doesn't really take a functioning person to do a podcast. I do a show 3 days a week at least. Well, Darth, I have a show too, and I do the same thing. So I guess, yes, that's a fair call out. That is a fair call out. I'm just gonna say I wouldn't be surprised if they brought it up in court. That, like, it didn't stop you from doing anything, right? It does. Okay. You're 5 minutes behind. I noticed that the conversation touched on Illuminati. Was that for the secret pyramid guy or the angry, insecure YouTuber? Both. Illuminati is the actual secret pyramid guys, all of that. But basically, I was speaking in regards to the coverage that we've done on my channel was about Illuminati the YouTuber, which is still going on as one heck of a mess. That insecure YouTube lady, as you said, you know. Meatballs versus meteors? Yeah, that could be. I'm gonna bet on the meteors causing more damage yeah. All right, on that, since we're all right, the whole chat conversation is turned over to meatballs, so that's my signal that that's it. You got all your questions answered, and it's about time to go. Thank you so much for having this conversation with me. I look forward to more in the future. I just enjoy getting your take on some of this, and it's always fun to have people in the chat to go back and forth with instead of just sitting up here on my soapbox, like talking to myself for the whole time. I hope you at least got, amongst all of my soapboxing, a good view on what's happening in Leah Remini's case. Basically, there's a lot of paperwork going back and forth. There's a lot of paperwork going back and forth. And we actually need to see the oral argument. We want to hear the oral arguments. I don't know if we're going to be able to do that. But let's see what the judge says in regards to having the whole thing thrown out based on First Amendment on the anti-slap. And that's we're gonna wait. We're gonna wait and hear what the judge has to say about that. Thankfully, we finally have a judge after the whole summer of like this judge, that judge, and then the other judge. This one looks like he's staying. And let's all just have good thoughts for that judge and the amount of paper filings he has to go through in regards to. I mean, if I was him, I would just say, I'm not reading that. Let's do oral arguments. I would not read 1,000 pages. Like, that's a lot. I mean, I know he has to, but that's what court clerks are for. Okay. And let's just do oral arguments in else's side. I like that. Hey, Karen. I'm so glad to keep you here. I'm so glad that you joined us. You're going to have to rewind and get all of that. Like, I did soapbox a little, so let me apologize. Well, Sorry, not sorry. Obviously, I had something to say. Um, I don't know. But here we go. Brad, if you're going to start this cult, could you contact me? Can I please join, Brad? Like, come on. We get along, don't we? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Anyway, hopefully, I want to make it a good one. Hopefully, you're going to make it a good one. But sense of humor above everything else, people. Don't take it too seriously. Okay. Yep. Here we go. All right. So on that, I'll see you guys tomorrow. It is maybe I won't because a lot of you like the late streams, but because it's political, warning, it's legal and it's political. We're gonna do a recap on all of these legal filings on our ex-president. And I know nobody really wants to talk about him, but there's some fascinating legal stuff going on. Some precedent is being set, some things that have never happened before are being done and being taken care of in the legal system. And I think it just needs to be addressed a little bit and just at least put it out. Yeah, unfortunately, Darth, you want to come keep me company? Like, I could use a friendly face. Well, they're legal cases. I'm not going to get into whether I support this or that or anything he believes in, but we will talk about the cases in general. And we do actually not recommend, but I do actually allow everyone to have an opinion as long as it's respectful. But I don't want to hear like anything just coming in to bash people just because of their political beliefs. You know what I mean? I do. I'll have to check, but I think I set it for 3 o'clock Eastern time. It was an afternoon, or believe it or not, the ones that follow my political commentary and content that I do are all from foreign countries. Not many Americans want to hear what I have to say about it, to tell you the truth. So I usually schedule it earlier for the UK, European countries, and that, you know, honestly. Hmm. Well, anyway, it's already listed on my channel as well as Fridays, which will be on Andrew Tate again because just want to point out a few other things. That'll be a short stream too. In the meantime, you all have a great time. Tomorrow there'll be some streams around from some of our friends who are in the chat, like Mousy, I do believe, and then Shenanigans for our mod, Mrs. Cassandra, with her joint channel over there. They're gonna have some fun. Yeah. And I look forward to it. So, and also hit the back of the video. I hate doing the YouTube things. It's what my big accomplishment of the day is actually getting that banner up there. But I do have to tell you to like and share and subscribe because this is the time of year you need to check your subscriptions because YouTube at the end of the year, they do drop inactive subs, blah blah blah. They stop sending notifications. It happens to me periodically every couple of months. So if you're not getting your notifications, don't forget to unsub and sub again. And that should do it. Ring that bell, so that you do get the notifications of what's coming on. And I do have a bunch of stuff coming for the end of the year. We are going to continue with the Hitchhiker series all the way through. And then we're going to start on the second book in 2024. Mm-hmm. No, it's not about drugs, Mark, but it means she has people with her. She has two other people that do the channel with her. Gosh darn it. Sorry, Mrs. Cassandra. I didn't mean to throw that kind of light on your channel. It's not like that. It's called Shenanigans, not for that reason, Mark, just because it's fun. It is a good place to play games and have some lighthearted conversation. Yeah, there you go. Okay. On that, if you all are around and you want to hear some music practice, usually Wrecker on Twitch and on Kick still, our mod MC Wrecker over there practicing music guitar every night. And on that, I think I'm going to be out of here. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Put your comments on the back of the videos. I will answer questions, anything that didn't come up that you want to know about. I do answer every comment. Okay. Jokes are all good. I know, Mark. I can count on you. Oh, bye, Mark. We'll see you again soon. Everybody have a great night.